Yeah.
Of the teams who have played so far in the top 12, which team is standing out the most to you right now and why?
Which team? Like I've played in Vile. I mean, to tell you the honest truth, none, because we haven't fought DSC right now in the tournament. We only fought DSC and CompQ, so and we haven't fought 10th Lyran in CompQ, or sorry, in like the finals as well. Like we've only
Hmm.
fought them in CompQ, so like to be honest, none. Speaking from Vile standpoint, um, I
What
would.
about you personally?
I mean, me personally, it's probably. I mean, it's gonna have to be DSC, right? So, like that's just the obvious answer, I think. And that's just out of respect for the opposition they provide. I mean, that's about it. So,
All right.
I mean, coming from Vile's perspective, we've dominated ComQ, we've dominated everything this year. So it's like
Hmm.
Yeah.
it's hard to be fearful of, or even really like anticipating like a lot of opponents we can fight. So,
Yeah.
other than DSC, other than 10th Lyran, I don't think most teams, and we proved that pretty well fighting 1FR. I believe it was last week. They didn't even stand a chance. And no offense to them, they're great players, experienced team, but it's not going to compare. So that's just
Yep.
the simple truth of it.
I mean, it really does come down to like strats and decks, all that stuff. You know, if you're not bringing the right things, then you can't really perform as good as you really want to. And I feel like some teams are having a hard time doing that. You know, but they're all good players. It's just it's hard. Like these maps are kind of newish. Well, for me, they're newish comp maps, so it took me a while to understand them. So I mean, it could just be teams having a rough time, figuring out how to play these maps.
I think from my observation casting this year, and of course playing a number of teams in CompQ, I think that like we mentioned earlier, the biggest issue teams have had is scouting. I think number one by far, teams are just not
Yeah.
scouting sufficiently enough, and it goes back to the maps. I actually think like the maps are just so predicated on getting good scouting. There's a lot of things you can do on the maps, so from that sense,
Hmm.
it's very versatile. Um, Especially on something like HBG or maybe Viridian, even Terra to an extent. Um, but you have to see what's going on, right? And it's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
you miss a guy running to the corner, then that can completely ruin your entire plan. Stuff like that. For example, we saw that with DSC, with the Hunchback in the corner of the map denying Gamma on Terra against, I believe it was 10th Lyran. They didn't have an answer. They didn't have a solution for that Hunchback. They had no idea he was even there until they tried to run onto the cap, and then that's it, right? And in
Yep.
fairness, it's very difficult to see that mech there in that corner, but that's just an example of you just you got to be you just got to be cognizant. I don't know. I don't really have a better way to put it. You have to be super aware and super cognizant, and like your lights need to just be looking, just all the time. It's really crazy, and it's like these teams are just not doing that. These teams are just banking on. For example, we saw KDCM against FJRD. Focus, I believe, right? I believe it was Focus last week.
Visigoths.
Visigoths. It was Visigoths last week, and they didn't really have a plan running into it. They didn't really have any. I shouldn't say they didn't have a plan. They didn't have any scouting. It was just painfully obvious they had no scouting for anything. They had only a rough idea what was going on through the match, and it just showed with all their pushes. And that's really the culmination of having scouting on some of these maps, especially like on that Bear Claw push on that drop 3. Looking back on it, it was just like it's so easily telegraphed by Visigoths because they had scouting, and like KDCM seemingly did not.
Hmm.
That is fair. You know, you brought up DSC's Terra Therma, which, like, honestly, that your guys' positioning was wild. It, top tier.
I
Love it.
mean, like I said, I mean, once you figure out how to play a map or you find these spots, you will understand how to play the map easier. So I mean, it looked kind of crazy from the top POV, but like once you like look on the map and how these mechs are looking at these points and stuff, it makes you know sense. You know, uh, a lot of people were complaining about Terra Therma being like mostly like uh brawl maps, right, or like a brawl map, right? But
Hmm.
you can definitely do a lot of other things on that map. You just have to explore and you know and figure out how to do strats and stuff. That's really it.
If you guys are getting into map band now, let me know and I'll skedaddle.
That's funny. We didn't even invite him yet. Um,
Oh,
I've been actually talking without looking. It is
see, time flies. Time flies. You guys should probably get those
yeah
invites out.
yeah. Let me do that. Who am I inviting? God dang it.
Oh man. Well, I'm sorry to pull your guys' attention away from the from the match.
Yeah, I've been talking too long.
Oh boy.
Let's see.
But yeah, Bowser, have there been any strats that you've seen from teams so far that blew your mind, like Terra Therma did, DSC's Terra Therma did mine?
None in the slightest. I would say everything I've seen is expected so far, and I'm surprised that more teams are not taking the DSC approach and just abusing really random corners and angles of the map. Terra Therma, especially, you haven't seen a single team do it this entire tournament, and even in Comp Q, for teams playing Comp Q, and it's utterly shocking to me that teams aren't abusing those spots more. It's very easy to science that stuff out. It takes like 10 minutes in training room, to be quite honest. And obviously, I mean, it paid dividends for DSC compared to Revenant, right? Like, the Revenant just had they had no counter. They had no response.
Oh my god. Guy. Oh, sorry. This guy's name is in one word, and he has it in two words on
Discord.
So it messed me up. Okay, I don't even. I think what? Gotta look at team sides. Yeah, this is correct. With the map bands. Alrighty. Now I can switch the screen. There we go. Sorry about that, folks. We definitely made this game a little bit later than it should have been. Just talking way too long. So it looks like Lyran guards picked Bear Claw 1, which is expected.
All right, well, I'm gonna get out of you guys' hair. Thank you so much for having me around.
Yeah, thank you, Luscious, for being here and asking some questions.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah. Take it easy. Best of luck.
So going into the match here, we do see that 10th Lyran has picked Bear Claw. We see Ford Focus has picked Viridian as their maps, their first two maps. If I'm Lyrian, I feel like I'm picking Terra. What do you think?
I honestly think. Oh, they actually. I was gonna say APG, but they picked Frozen.
So we've completely wrong guesses. They have picked Frozen City.
That's very unexpected. I thought they would pick HPG. I felt they could be strong on that map. I feel like FJRD is gonna pick Terra.
I agree on that one.
Yeah, and they did.
So, yep, there it is. So, we'll be starting on Bear Claw. Now they're picking sides. Well, Lyran picks Bear Claw. So, Fjord. I mean, this is going to be interesting, right? Because as we know about Bear Claw, the south side of Bear Claw has the advantage when fighting and contesting for Theta. But of course, north side theoretically has better trading positions, better scouting positions. So we do see Fjord does take team 1. Interesting on Bear Claw. I mean, that could be, I mentioned it before, and I'll mention it again, that definitely could be a sign of a push if a team is voluntarily giving up, quote-unquote, the better side of the map for control.
Mm-hmm. And then Revenant picked team 2 on Birdie and Bog. Yeah. FJRD focused put team 2 on Frozen City 1. I feel like they're gonna push on that side.
I agree. That's something we haven't really seen this tournament, but is actually very strong. Is the reverse counter push from Team One. I think normally we've seen a lot of Team Two into Team One pushes on Frozen. We haven't really seen it much the other way around.
So it looks like Revenant picked the last two sides, team 2 on Terra, which seems like they might either do a control strat on that side, and then team 1 on HPG. So team 1 is, I think, a bit stronger than team 2 on HPG. But I don't know about you, Bowser. How do you feel?
I would agree with that assessment. Yes, I would agree with that assessment. I think Team One is definitely a little bit stronger than Team Two on HPG. Not really any super crazy reasoning to that. I think this ramp area for Team One is a bit stronger, for sure. I think the wall crossings are more friendly for Team 1 as opposed to Team 2. For example, you kind of have this building structure over here that Team 1 theoretically can more easily use than Team 2, especially if they're getting pushed off the wall over here. It's a pretty symmetrical map, all things considered, but it's definitely a little bit more advantaged in Team 1's favor.
All right, and in 1 at 5 minutes. All right.
So Fjord's gonna well, I think you gotta switch the map to.
It's Bear Call first, right? Yeah, it's Bear Call. It's Bear Call first, and then FJRD's on team 1.
Okay. So looking at Bear Claw a little bit, it's honestly a very one-dimensional map. As we discussed on a little bit of a pre-talk here, it's super predicated on your scouting, if your scouting is efficient or not. Because almost the entirety of this area, the entirety of literally everything on Bear Claw is all scoutable if you if you see it, right? Like literally if you see it, you can scout it. It's kind of like redundant to say, but there's not a lot of places you can sneak by. Like even somewhere like here where we saw KDCM try to push last week, it doesn't work if you have like a single guy up here just like scouting the whole lane down. And that just goes double for literally any single one of the lanes of the map. Epsilon, Kappa, there's just nothing that cannot be scouted if you have like people who know where to look, basically. And so coming into Team 1 on Fjord here, you have obviously the D7 high spot, super powerful. The cover's a little bit wrong on the mech there, doesn't matter. So you have that spot, which basically can see a lot of the map, right? You can see a lot of the map from that spot. But the problem is Team 1 is not only like 200 or 300 meters behind Theta, but they also lose the big rock up here, which you can put a mech on and basically deny the entire cap forever if you have lasers with that mech down there. So Team 2 is just, because of those reasons, Team 2 is just objectively straight up better to hold Theta with, which means if Fjord is sitting Team 1 and they're handing over they're handing over that side of the map to 10th Lyran, Revenants, I guess probably, yeah, Revenant. We'll just call them Revenants. Just handing that side of the map over to Revenants, I think Revenants kind of knows what to expect. I would like to think Revenant kind of knows what to expect coming into this, which is why I'm surprised that Visigoths would give that side of the map up.
You said having a mech in G6 is a great spot for denying Theta. I agree on that. It's just sometimes if you don't, well, you will see, like if you have really good scouting and you see something pushing 5 line, having a slow trader in G6 can be bad. if it's trying to rotate to, let's say it's probably going to f7, it might get there too late and get caught. So
Yep.
if you have a trader in g6, make sure to have a probably like a heavy mech on there instead of a assault, or maybe put an XE there instead of something slow. So be careful.
Absolutely. A favored is like maybe like a blackjack or even like a crusader that your larges or something 80, 90 Ks an hour ish that you just can't, because obviously if it's an assault, right, as you said, it's going to be too slow to actually get the deny. So it has to be fast enough to get up there with a reasonable amount of speed to get that deny.
Yeah. No, we're just waiting for team 2 to lock in. Team 1 already locked.
Unfortunately, Lances don't really tell much of a story on this map. They're all pretty close together.
Yeah, the Lances really don't tell a story for the match, so we have to wait until we get into in-game. Looks like team 2 is green, waiting for them to say locked. All right, team 2 is blocked.
All right, let us launch.
Alrighty.
So what do you think we're going to see coming out of this match, Chicken Man, coming into this? I think, like, as we discussed, I think it's fairly telegraphed that Fjord is going to be extremely aggressive of some variety. But what do you think Revenants is going to do here?
I feel like they're gonna bring the same stuff last week. Maybe have a tweak on some mechs, maybe. But I feel like they might like change this. Let's say like they had a Star Rhino last week. They could have an AC-10 Star Rhino because they might be seeing a push from FJRD. Or yeah, FJRD focus, yeah. They might change a few mechs just to deal with brawl if they do brawl, and if they need to push up, if they're doing like a cap shot, then they'll have more DPS to actually win fights. So
Makes sense. I completely agree.
Yeah, hopefully we can see something like that. I will go to team 2 side. You want to go team 1?
Absolutely. So looking at Fjord, they're going to have a Saber, they're going to have a Spider 5K, they're going to have a Viper F, Stone Rhino Colossus, Black Runner Billionaires, Charger 1A1, Executioner M, Ice Ferret J. Very rush heavy. What do you see over there on Revenant's side?
Okay, I see an Atlas RS, XLPLs, Marauder 2C with 4 LPOs and 5 ER meds, a Stone Runner 1 with 4 AC-10, 2 Plasma, a Blackjack 1X, probably Laser Vomit, yes, Javelin 11F, Heavy Machine Gun Medium X Pulse, Viper, SPO, Micro Pulse Laser, a Osiris 1P with heavy machine guns, brawl stuff, and then an Ice Fridge for, I guess, capping. As lasers. So I did call. Yeah, go ahead, Bowser.
Sorry to interrupt you. That X-Pulse Atlas is very interesting. That's a very interesting pick, and I think that means that Revenants have come prepared to receive this rush from Visigoths. We do see Bacon in that Blackjack right behind his Javelin contesting the cap. Of course, as we said, the Javelin just gets there way before the Viper ever could, so they have Theta. The Viper's going to try and deny it. That's not going to matter, though. Blackjack gets a really good burn on that Blackjack there. So, very interesting. We see Fjord kind of has Saber and an Ice Ferret J I don't know if they're trying to run onto Epsilon to take it or what the deal is with that. They do have the spider kind of scouting, but it looks like we see the FJRD bigs all sitting by Theta. Surely 5JDX knows this. It looks like they do. They've pulled quite a bit of range at this point with the Atlas, the Marauder, even the Stone Rhino. So they're prepared for this inevitable rush from FJRD here. Interestingly, I like where these lights were. I like where they were. They kind of pulled off now, but they could have actually done like a pincer if they ran through Epsilon low ground and like just came up behind to shank the Revenant bigs, but they didn't do that. It seems like they're just consolidating with the rest of the FJRD bigs. They have pushed through Theta at this point. They're at the big middle rock. They're kind of trapped, I think. They're kind of just stuck.
Yeah, FJRD, I think they're waiting for their light pack right now, so then they can get ready to push, but they are taking some free damage from the Cyrus, but I mean, the Cyrus doesn't really do too much there.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a mistake. But of course, the jig is up, so
I think the Cyrus is just trying to keep getting info for them in case, you know, see what they're doing and stuff. I think FJRD is actually going to try to cap them out. It looks like they're going to go get Kappa here.
That is smart. That is super smart because you've kind of pushed Revenant into the bottom right corner of their map, including a lot of their lights, ready to receive a push that, as you said, seems like it's not going to happen. So Revenants needs to, I guess, be aware of that and counter push. I don't know if they want to counter push into Fjord's deck, though.
I think what 10th Lyran guards should do is send some mediums up to bait their assaults out, because it looks like the assaults are trying to like get ready to ambush something on Theta or something to push around the corner.
We do see Revenant lights getting aggressive, trying to I guess they're just trying to push it. They have no idea the assaults are all around the corner, but Cougar does scout them all around that corner. But Cougar's not going to take very much damage for it, though. Unfortunate a little bit. Bangalore getting burned just a bit. Nothing too bad. Of course, Revenant is counter pushing. They're doing exactly what they need to do with the right timing. They are counter pushing. We see Monkey also in the Atlas, Sleepy Human in the Marauder. They're going to take point with Carbify and the Rhino just basically almost Giga Chad walking down the middle. With the Atlas and the Marauder coming on the right, we just see Javelin running in. One of the Executioners appears to not be moving for Fjord. That is super unfortunate. However, JP Janko does get legged immediately from the cost, and he does go down. Of course, Butterpro and the Incubus going down at the same time. It's really unfortunate that Executioner's not moving, and Revenants is aware of that. They're not shooting that Executioner at all, Bumblebee and that Executioner. He must have had a disconnect at some point. Fjord is going to try and counter-push, but it's kind of just... That's kind of going to be all she wrote, almost. Like, the Viper's going down a little bit here. Kind of into 5 mechs. We do see the Ice Ferret making a last stand. Can he get Monkey Yatso? He does get Monkey Yatso. Of course, Fjord's still sitting on 4 cap. So, maybe if Alpha Strike and the Ferret can just pull away. We do see Bumblebee and the Executioner does come back, of course. He does get legged, but they do kill Sleepy Human. Maybe they can kill Coker here. No, Coker makes it behind cover. But the Spider's going to chase. I think that's a little bit dangerous, chasing the Blue Devil spawn and Cougar there. Bacon Lord is not long for this world. There goes Bacon Lord. Really good kill by Tart in the Charger. Bumblebee does go down the Executioner. Tart is going to be not long for this world. Carbon Fire is very fresh in that Stone Rhino. Unfortunately, there goes Tart. Yamu in that Spider is going to try and... I don't know what he's going to try and do here, actually. He's trapped. He is definitely trapped at this point. There goes the leg on Yamu. Yamu does go down. And that is it for... that is it for Visigoths.
No, that's the... No, it's Focus. But yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, I you know, kind of happy that I predicted that, you know, Revenant would bring more DPS mechs into you know, FJRD. They were ready for it, but I think they also knew that they were going to try to do a cap game, so having more DPS to push up to, you know, clear them out is what they had to do. I also felt like Focus could have bought more time by, like, you know, not sitting on Theta, or maybe have more mechs ready to receive against Revenant, but they just got pincered there from both sides. It allowed himself to get hit. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was surprised that he came back near the end, though. He did get I think, like a few legs when he came back, but it wasn't enough. I think the next map is Viridian, and I think they're on the same side. So if you don't want to
Absolutely.
switch sides, I'll say team one. Team one, 5 minutes. Do you want to talk about anything on Viridian, or I guess we should, right?
Well, definitely. So we can pull up the map
I
chart a
think
little
what Revenant is going to do on Team 2 side is actually maybe do a control strat where, it forces FJRD to push them, and they'll have very good receive points if they, have to receive. And I think FJRD is trying to, I think, full on brawl rush them from Team 1 side.
I would concur with that.
I don't know what you think, Bowser.
Yeah, I would concur with your assessment 100%. So, kind of just managing some of the overlays in the scenes right now. Where are you doing the lobby stuff? Let's see.
Viridian is very small on the whatever it's called, when you bring out the map room. It is very small, so it might be really hard to actually put anything down on there and have people to see. Waiting on FJRD's lances and where they put people at. Looks like
So,
they're spreading people out.
lances are a little bit more important on Viridian as it is a smaller map. And for example, if you want to fight Theta, then spawning all your people in Bravo or Alpha, right, if you're Team 1, or Bravo Charlie if you're Team 2, well, that's not going to be very productive, right? So a little bit more focus can be paid attention to lances here, especially as focus does have to lock first. They are locked, so going on to Revenant's pick here, or I guess Revenant's side.
Man, I just had to hit blink. I think. Oh yeah, they're locked. So, god dang, into 5 minutes.
So I think we're going to see pretty consistent pushing from focus. So they clearly gave up the better side of Bearclaw, quote unquote the better side, to do a push strat, right? I think Viridian is a map, as we discussed earlier, would be very friendly for what they're trying to do. So, kind of going into it here, if we're looking at Team 1, I like to expect a couple things from this. So, I like to expect that maybe they just ignore Theta completely. And I'd like to expect something like that. I'd like to expect a little something like that. You could see 1, 2, you maybe see a couple lights going through Theta. I'm not really sure, to be honest. It's a little bit hard to predict what they're kind of going to run and what they're going to kind of do here. Because, like, we saw in the last match, okay, well, they took a push strat, right? And they're just going to try and go straight through. Okay, but then they stopped at the middle rock, and then they just tried to play caps. Very interesting. Very, very fun strategy to watch, actually, until Revenant counter push, basically. But
I feel like maybe FJRD might actually bait Revenant out by going for these caps and having them, you know, bring more mechs over towards like a certain cap point. And once they've done that, they could maybe do like a counter push or actually brawl them if they have very fast mechs. If I don't know if FJRD is going to do that, or they might just full send. Hopefully, they can maybe set up a trap or somewhere.
I'd like to see that, but I would like to think Revenant knows the gig. Like I think they understand the gig after that first match. Like the gig is up for Focus. So I would like to think Revenant is just going to play very conservatively with high DPS receive mechs. Again, you have that X-Pulse Atlas, which is actually wouldn't be bad to see on this map again. You also have that again, that AC-10 Stone Rhino. Those two would be just absolutely monstrous at receiving any sort of push from Focus, especially because most of the push lanes are very open. About the only one that could really catch your assaults off guard, let's say if you're a Revenant and you're kind of sitting back here a little bit, maybe some sort of hook like that through Theta. It could be easy to not have that scouted if you're Revenant, and if you send 2, 3, 4 lights through that, if you're Focus, I mean, that could very easily catch whatever is back there off guard, maybe combined with Biggs sort of pushing straight through, kind of like that. So
Yeah, I can maybe see something like that. Team 2 is locked and they're ready to roll.
absolutely.
So I think we're done talking and we're gonna get here and start.
So, alright. So these guys loading. We go some of the mechs on the ground. So I will start with FJRD because that's where my camera was. So we're gonna see Butter Pro and a Shadowcat P. We're gonna see the Stone Rhino 1. We're gonna see the Spider 5K, Executioner A, Mad Cat 1, Flea 17, Black Winter Bow and Arrows, and then the Ice Fair J. What do you have over there in Revenants?
Just loaded in. I'm running it right now. Okay, I see a Viper F, probably SPL, machine gun or full laser, Flea 19 max shots, Jenner 2C2, heavy beam lasers, Crusader 6T, probably yeah. Oh, large pulse, 6-year meds and 6 smalls, Star under 1 with AC10s. Oh, Death Strike with 2 hack 30s, 2 LPOs, and 4-year meds. That's gonna be very hot. And then 4 large laser 7B with 5-year meds and 2 rocket launcher 10s, and a Shadowcat with plasma and AP Gauss.
So we do see the Black Lantern, Ice Fairy, and the Flea are going to get Theta very quickly for Focus here. That is pretty strong. They didn't take much damage in the process. I think the Flea should bail now. The Flea is going to bail now. They took very little damage. They did get that Theta cap. They did get a very early 3 cap. So that actually might be very tricky for Revenants, who look like they set up a little bit more of a receive style deck here. Very interesting choices, though, from that Death Strike and that Lombo 7V, notably not an overcharge.
The 7V does have all its energies in the torsos and has a quirk for heat. I think it's -10. So they probably want something to have more sustain and better hard points, which, you know, can maybe outweigh the speed. But I think the speed is more important in these type of matches. It looks like Revenant is pushing up to get better positions in the middle to get more, ground.
So we do see they're not going to let Focus sit on those caps for very long. We do see Luminos, Monkey Yatsu, and Carbonfire in those 3 assaults for Revenants. They're pushing straight up to the middle, as you said, very quick. They're not delaying anything at all. Fjordlands might not be expecting this aggression from Revenants, actually. I don't think they have very minimal scouting, as far as I can tell, on this sort of Revenant movement. It seems like they're playing very far back.
Bacon actually has been scouting, but he's been taking a lot of damage for it.
No. I mean Focus. Focus. I don't think Focus is scouting very much.
Team Focus. Oh, sorry.
I don't think they're scouting very much at all. The Executioner does see, of course, some of the assaults moved up. He is aware, but are they aware that Carbonfire and Luminos are just straight up pushed up in the middle of the map? I don't know. This could be a big surprise for Thorgrim Malthus here.
Hopefully that Spider 5K can see that side where their assaults are moving towards in the middle. It looks like, it looks like the Spider actually sees them, so they know they have a few mechs on that right side.
We do see Tart taking pretty heavy damage. He's pushed up pretty close in that Gaussian Large Maccat 1 to Revenant's mid-range. Luminos and Carbonfire putting very good damage on Tart, who's forced behind that little mountain on the high ground spot he's in right now. Interesting. We see a lot of Focus mechs converging on this Epsilon cap. They're going to have a lot of trouble because Monkey Yatsu's on the high ground and they have nobody looking at Monkey Yatsu to stop this aggression from him, except for Uguay in the Stone Rhino 1. Will be enough, though. It looks like Revenants is overrunning it completely. And they have the Crusader there, too. Viper 3 is going to take a ton of damage in that Black Lantern. He actually just caught a little bit. His legs open. They didn't quite get it. Just about nearly legged. Got caught up against the wall there. That is going to be Epsilon cap for Revenants, almost uncontested, with a lot of damage being put into Viper 3's leg there.
Very surprised that Black Lantern survived that 4-man gank there.
I am as well. That's actually really big for Focus that he did survive.
Yeah, both legs are basically orange-yellow, so they almost had him. So it looks like they're gonna try to push this Storano 1, maybe? No, they're not doing that. I think the Storano 1 should actually maybe drop down and try to get a different position because he is gonna get pushed in soon, and he's basically trapped there anyway.
So basically, just a big skirmish kind of happening right now. We see Ford kind of running back and forth. They're not really sure what to do from this very heavy Revenant aggression on Epsi. We see Butter Pro is a little bit ahead, or Butter Poro, sorry, is a little bit ahead of his team. He's going to get focused down really quickly, though. His leg is already open. He's fighting basically 3 Revenant mechs at once, the Crusader, the Jenner, and the Viper. He is legged, I believe. Yes, he is legged. Bacon Lord and JP Janko getting a good crossfire on Thorgrim Malthus here, making the push. Tart does go down in that Mad Cannon, meanwhile, absolutely just completely out-traded. Look at where he died. Oh, my goodness. Kind of just in the back. That's actually wild. And we do see Uguay T is about to go down next. This is very awkward for Focus. I think their lights just need to pull out and start running to caps. They need to do the same thing they should have done in the first match on Bear Claw. They need to just be pulling those lights out and just stop committing them to this fight and getting themselves legged and just try and cap at this point. That's all you have left. That's the closest you're going to get it. You see Butter Proto and Alpha Strike go down at the same time. Dr. Xenocide is going to run in, try and get the Crusader. Will be able to get it. He does get it. Self-destruction by Canadian DJ. He does go down. At this point, it's a leg Black Lantern, very hurt XC. Speaking of leg Black Lantern, there he goes. It's just the Spider and the Flea, mostly. And there goes the XC. So it's just the Spider and the Flea right now for Focus. Those guys need to run away if they can and just do something with the caps. They're not going to make it very far, though. The Spider does get legged, and Xenocide goes down. And that is going to be it.
Yeah, like you said, the lights on FJRD Focus should have been actually going for caps, and they just decided to brawl there. It was very tough seeing that, but it happens. And it looks like Monk with the Death Strike actually farmed the most on the Revenant with 929 damage.
Yeah.
That's very, very good.
I mean, Thorgrim Malthus, Executioner A, 266, Tart in the Mad Cat, 1, 256, and Uguay, 329. You just don't really want to see those numbers from your assaults, unfortunately. That seems like where the bigger problem was. Of course, the lights took a lot of damage, but it was the bigs that got so heavily out-traded. They just did not have an answer for Revenant just taking the middle with their mid-range. They brought a lot of like long range, but as soon as the range gap closes, which is exactly what Revenant did, it's just gonna be game over, and that's exactly what we saw.
Alrighty, I will get the next map ready, and it looks like we'll have to switch the teams too. It is Frozen City next, I believe. No? Doesn't it say FJRD picked Team 2 on Frozen City?
Yes. Yes, it does say that to me. Focus is Team 2 on Frozen, and it does say Lyran Revenants is Team 1. Okay, it's just a slight miscommunication. Yeah, so Revenant is supposed to be Team 1 on Frozen, and Focus is supposed to be Team 2 on Frozen, so sides are correct.
Yeah. It looks like sides are correct. Okay. Team 1, 5 minutes. Do you expect the Revenant to receive mechs on Frozen City, or do you think they will have enough DPS to deal with FJRD with blue lasers?
So, I think FJRD brought a very interesting mix-up onto that last drop. It's hard to predict. I mean, it's very hard to predict, I think, at this stage, what we're going to see coming out of FJRD. Especially on a map like Frozen, I would have predicted the map that they would have pushed, as we said in the pregame analysis, was Viridian, and they didn't. So, I think it's going to be very difficult to predict. If they try pushing on Frozen, it could be absolutely disastrous, particularly as Revenant has Team 1 side generally considered the better side to receive a push on. So, it's going to be very troubling for Focus, I think, on this map.
Yeah, it was kind of funny seeing Focus doing a control strat on Viridian when I feel like they should have pushed. Now, I don't know what they're going to do on this side or on Frozen at all. I think FJRD could actually do like a mid or a Theta lock where they just have a bunch of mechs just looking at Theta, so Redmond cannot get a third cap. So I think FJRD is either just going to get a 3 cap on the west side and just sit there and protect Theta.
I'd really like to see, as Focus is about to get knocked down, or sorry, this is loser bracket, so this is elimination match for Focus actually right now. I would really like to see them pull something absolutely crazy. We talked about potentially not counter strikes, but like ganks, like weird ganks and ambushes. I want to see that, the absolute best of that, come out right now for Focus as they're breathing their last gas in this tournament.
Yeah, I feel like Focus can do some weird flanks, like around, like you said, people can go around the 9 line on Frozen, around the I guess the Rock and D8. They can definitely send a few mechs behind there, have their whole team on the other side of the map, and have them just completely backstab some of Revenant mechs if they have them on Gamma side or something like that. But I'm not even sure if they're gonna do that.
So really, I think we could look at a couple strong ambush plays here. So looking from Team 2 side, from Fjord's side, we could definitely see some play around Sigma, something like that, where you get focus, or sorry, we get Revenant mechs to kind of overextend across the saddle, and maybe you even jump them. You could potentially have people run through the tunnel too, kind of a little bit something like that. So on the other
see that.
On the other side too, we talked about Epsilon earlier. Maybe if you're Fjord, maybe a little something like that. You just have some sort of ambush there. Of course, it's super, super, super tricky because that ambush, that type of ambush, I should say, is completely foiled by Revenant just sending a mech back there. It's just super easy to do. So it's just very difficult. Again, it's a very scouting predicated map, and I suspect that we're going to see Focus pull out all the stops as they're on their potential final match in this tournament here. And really, it's Revenant's game to lose, I would say. So Revenant needs to just keep sharp and just keep doing what they're doing. I mean, they really, I would say that Bear Claw match was almost textbook, that Bear Claw receive. And then I would say the Viridian kind of push into middle was also very textbook. They swung their lights all together very aggressively through Epsilon with the support of the Crusader. Their bigs, their mid-range bigs, very notable there, took middle and pushed Fjord's long-range bigs off the map. So it's just this map in general is just super predicated on scouting, and we're going to see the best or worst of that from both these teams coming in right now as both teams lock up here.
Oh. I'm gonna get ready to switch scenes, and then I'm ready to start it.
Absolutely.
Starting. It looks like Focus is having both of their lances on Alpha and Bravo. So that's really saying that they are taking the west side of the map.
Yes.
I don't expect any, maybe one light mech from Bravo lens maybe to scout on the maybe 7 line if they are thinking about that, but I feel like they're just going to full send on the west side, or maybe have a 3 cap there.
So we do see the mechs coming in now, finally. I'll start with Revenants here. That's where my camera started. So we'll start with Executioner M. We'll start with the Viper F, Shadowcat, Mishapeshu, the Bloodass Rancor, the Stone Rhino 1, the Flea 19, the Locust 1V, and the Crusader 6T. We have over there for Focus.
I'm seeing an XEM, a Linebacker H, Gargoyle D, Charger N7, Black Lantern, Ice Fridge, Flea 17, and the Viper. I did not expect this. I think they're going to do a Valley push here with their bigs.
Fantastic to see. We haven't really seen that much this tournament. Kind of looking at Focus's builds, they're basically all hard brawl. But if we look at Revenant's builds, actually we have some long range. Very interesting build up from Carbon Fire. Double Hag 40s and 6 medium pulse. That sounds like it'd be really hot. Potentially a good push receive, but also very, very, very hot. We just see Crusader, or yeah, Canadian DJ and the ERPVC Crusader, of course, the Bloodless Rancor, always the 6 ER larges. The Executioner, also full ER larges. And then the ER large Locust. So I don't know that Revenant actually expects this full send. I don't think, looking at the deck, they expected them to do this. But of course, the battle's starting really quickly here. Bacon Lord is aware that lights are pushing very hard. Of course, Revenant needs to be careful because we see the... Revenant needs to be careful because we see the 4-lane bigs just basically pushing all the way through the open here. Uncontested almost. Well, I shouldn't say uncontested, actually. Uguay is taking a fair bit of damage, down to 84%. But this is a very dangerous hill to hold for Revenants. They kind of don't want to go right into the lights. They kind of don't want to go left into the bigs. And it's a 4-man pincer. It's 4 bigs on the right, 4 lights on the left for Fjordland. I actually really like this split from Fjordland. I'm a big fan of it. We do see linebacker just tanking. Oh my goodness, that's kind of what they do though, right? The linebackers just sponge.
Yeah, they've gotten buff recently. So
and so at the same time, really well timed, we do see the Fjordlands Lights pushing Cougar. They might get a pick on Cougar. Cougar does get legged. Will they get him? They do get Cougar. Oh my goodness. Super fast. They're going to jump on these Revenant mechs who are basically just in a giant crossfire at this point in time. Sponge and the linebacker goes down. Took a very long time to go down. The Fjordland Lights are just in there. Alpha Strike and the Viper does go down next, though. Of course, that Crusader. They need to try and get that Crusader kill very quickly. Carbon Fire does go down. Tart and the Charger very next up. It's pretty neck and neck. However, Fjordlands is down on percentage right now. And of course, they are down a mech. Not much is happening at this point. They're still not getting a lot of damage on the Crusader. That Crusader is just going to absolutely mop up all of Fjordland's Lights if they don't get a kill on it quickly. We just see Yamu go down, Uguay T going down, and Thorgrim, Malthus, and the Gargoyle is going to be shortly after. I don't see any particularly hurt mechs on Revenants at this point in time. Canadian is... No, Canadian's not even legged. Oh, he is legged. I'm sorry. Canadian is actually legged. Dr. Xenocide, will he be able to get bacon? Dr. Xenocide does get bacon. Good kill from Dr. Xenocide. Can he get Canadian DJ's other leg? No. That is it for Dr. Xenocide.
Kind of disappointing there from Focus, though. I felt like they should have pushed in more straight instead of going up top of the, upper city.
Agreed. I think they should have just ran it down a little bit faster. We do see Monkey Yatsu and the Bloodass Rancor 760 from those ear larges and micros receiving that push there.
Wow.
Good damage from Carbon Fire, of course, and Snow Rhino 1. It looked like it was built to receive that push going in there. I mean, just good damage spread, really, from pretty much all of Revenant, I would say. Even not that bad from Focus. Like, I mean, Sponger and the linebacker, he was literally the tank for his team. Still did 110 damage. So... It was a good attempt. That was the best attempt I've seen yet, I think. And
yeah,
for like a frozen push, almost. It's like largely this whole tournament, actually. That was a strong push. It was a quick match. The score didn't look great, but their initial strategy was good. The execution may have been flawed, but the initial strategy was very strong there from Focus, in my opinion.
I liked it a lot. I wish it was more clean though.
And that will be Revenant moving on in the losers bracket 3-0 against Focus, with Focus being eliminated from the tournament. Congratulations to Revenant. And of course, Focus, played a pretty good series against a tough opponent. Well played to both teams in this match here.
Yep, well played. What is next? When is the next game?
Should be very shortly. Let me check. Uh, 20 minutes, I think.
15-20 minutes. I think I'm not casting that game. It will be Revan. So
sounds good.
I'm wondering if I should end the stream and then message Revan, or should I keep the stream up until it gets here? Or are you ending your stream, Bowser?
No, I'm gonna continue casting. I'm gonna cast the rest of the matches tonight.
I mean, I guess I could talk a bit on. I mean, do you want to talk how they should have improved their push there, like on the map strat, so then people can know what to do next time?
Really quick, let me remake the lobby so we can get that going real fast. And absolutely, why don't you start while I'm doing the lobby real quick?
Yes, I can. We get the map selected. Okay. So for Focus, initially having the Bigs and Bravo spawned and going right through the valley into E6, and then they had their light lance basically pushed right over to E4, contesting the other lights from Revenant side, and they were basically skirmishing on that side until their bigs were ready to push. But I felt like their bigs didn't need to go up into D6 and do that because it would have been basically the same distance from where they went up the hill right through, right to their Revenant bigs. And actually they would have had to expose more to even damage focus bigs if they went right to the low ground instead of going around. If they went right to the low ground, they would have been protected from the hill, and they would have been in range faster with their raw weapons. And I think their mediums could have been, I think the mediums on focus side were taking a little bit too much damage, waiting for their bigs push up. Uh, and I think having Revenant like stacked on D5 made them focus targets better by doing that because they were delaying.
So
Go ahead, Bowser.
sorry, I was just saying we have everything set up at this point for the next series. So kind of looking at the map, I mean, I think your assessments are legitimately spot on. So I think the about what I could add to it is I would like to have seen their lights be perhaps a little bit even more aggressive. Maybe the timing could have been shallowed by about 10 seconds there. I also think their priority focusing was a bit awkward. Like, I think you have to kill the Crusader. It's just an obvious kill. It is legitimately a mech that can kill just about any single mech in this game, 1v1, if it gets the opportunity to, and let alone multiple, right? Well, multiple lights just stacked up. I mean, it just absolutely just decimates them if it's just left alive. I think you just have to dive that mech and kill it super fast. The Storm Rhino kill was good. I just did the Storm Rhino focus was very good. So I would agree that you so there's two things to it, I guess, right? So if we kind of look at it a little bit closer, the way they had their bigs kind of in that circle there is good for two things, right? It's good for splitting the attention of 5Js or not 5J, I'm sorry, Revenants mechs. So it's great for splitting the attention of Revenants mechs because you basically have them in a crossfire. However, there isn't much of a crossfire happening because the lights aren't getting much pressure on the Revenant mechs there, all standing in D5, right? So you kind of just made a scenario where all of Revenant's mechs are able to just turn left and just hard stare the bigs. So when you realize that's happening, the lights just have to go for it. You have to send it. And I think had the lights, again, maybe 10, 15 seconds shallower on the timing, I think that could have made a big difference in their push there.
I agree what you said there. I mean, if focus lights actually had range and they were splitting the attention, like you said, having a crossfire, if they had more range, they would have been able to get back shots on their assaults, but they didn't. So basically, it was useless by doing that. Let me see if I need to go. If Revan is not here, I might just stay here with you.
Awesome.
Oh, it's 15 minutes? Okay. Kato and Srot next game. Did you fix your scoreboard? Or whatever they were talking about?
I'm not sure what they're talking about. As far as I'm aware, the scoreboard's correct. It's been correct, so that was kind of my confusion earlier.
Let me look at your stream. Oh, I don't know if they're talking about the PNG for focus picture. Is that this new one?
It should be the right one, unless it's not.
Hmm. Well, I don't think it really matters anymore. I'm going to I think mute the stream and then try to talk to someone.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. After a short hiatus, we are casting Potato Carry Society versus Sky Ranger Jaegers in about 5-minute start time till this match. So I'll just take us over to a map strat real quick while we just wait for everybody to get into lobby. So maybe just go over a slight recap of the series we just saw for those tuning in at home. So we started on Bear Claw here. Clean some of this stuff up a little bit. So we started on Bear Claw. We saw Fjord Focus versus 10th Lyran Revenants. So very interesting. And I just can't help but continue to point this out, right? Just for everybody watching at home, if you're playing Bear Claw and you give up Southside is objectively the better side for playing a more balanced match, right? So if you're giving that up voluntarily, as Fjord Focus did, then you kind of have to expect a couple things coming. And Revenant, we saw, they had very strong positions, something like that to start with, and they started shifting all of their people right because, again, this like most of the maps in this championship is a lot about scouting, right? So you're gonna see a lot of just everything. You're gonna see a lot of everything just by jumping around and just by looking around. And so that was exactly what Revenant did with some of their lights, kind of something sort of like that a little bit. And so when we saw the Fjord Focus mechs, basically just the bigs almost just kind of barreling through Theta a little bit, just a little bit something like that, a little bit something like this. They tried to get a little bit of the cap hole, but then they ended up stopping right around at this rock while the Revenant mechs all kind of stopped right in this area. Something a little bit like that. So it's just, and then they kind of balled up there, and it was pretty interesting, but as soon as Revenant realized what was happening, they basically just did a big old counter push, something a little bit like that, something a little bit like that, and a little bit like that, and kind of just approached them on all the lines. And Fjord was able to get quite a few of Revenant's mechs killed, and they were able to bring the caps to about, I believe it was about 500 or 550, might have been a little bit more than that. But I think going into this next series here, something I'd like to see happen is I'd like to see that if we see a similar sort of push coming from Team 1, right? Whoever happens to be Team 1 on Bear Claw, if we see Bear Claw played in this series, then I'd like to see the lights, rather than just going to fight and just going to fight in their inevitable deaths, start running around and capping, right? Start running around to maybe, start running around to like that, start running around to that, just run all around, right? Theta's no man's lane, you kind of have to leave that alone, but just get their mechs, get them to, like, split up. Get their mechs to split up, and maybe even if you catch people out, if your lights preserve enough HP, you can keep that rolling. So we are getting very close to match time at this point. With a little bit of just random map talk to fill the air, if you will. So we should be getting Heavenward in the lobby shortly from Potato Carry Society.
I don't know if you want me to send me an invite.
Yeah,
Lobby?
let me get you in here. Sorry about that.